This week we have been looking at the forgotten fourth commandment. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. And I've done a flyover of what the Old Testament says, a flyover of the New Testament era, or the intertestamental period, a flyover of the New Testament, and a flyover of how things have evolved since then. Look, I just wanna set in front of you some of the ways that I have been trying to understand this and grow in this. Again, this is a hard one for me. Now, some people raise objections to the fourth commandment. They say it's the only commandment not repeated in the New Testament, and it no longer applies, and Jesus fulfilled the law and all of that. Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's not just that this is the fourth commandment. This gets grounded in creation, order, and I am not dispensational in my theological framework, so I don't come at this with this idea that the law was, completely for a different time. We'll talk about this in the sermons, but I think there are moral, civil, and ceremonial aspects to the Old Testament law, and the civil and the ceremonial are not in place, but the moral. And the moral laws are in place, and the moral guidance behind the civil and ceremonial are in place. So, look, I think the Sabbath is a gift, and I want to encourage you to take some steps in that direction. So let me start by just noting that Jesus says to those who follow him, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And rest is what gets associated with the Sabbath. And it's not just sleeping in, it is to be restored. It is to be realigned. Life is lived when life is lived too quickly. It's not just that we may be doing things wrong, it's that we may be doing the right things, but racing down the wrong path, right? The Sabbath is to be a time of reflection, it's to be a time of realignment, it's to be a time to be reminded of the things that ultimately matter, to spend a deeper season with God. It's a time to be reminded that eternity changes everything. So I also want to say that the Sabbath, keeping the Sabbath is not just about how we keep that one day. It's about how we live all of life, because the Sabbath is seen as sort of, the rudder to the ship in that sense. So, look, there's a lot that could be unpacked here about the fact that increasingly our problems are stress-related, and they're anxiety-related, and they're depression-related. It's because we are doing life wrong, and we're not resting with God, and we're not figuring out how to cultivate and nurture our soul. I just want to note that a few years ago, I started expanding the time that I spent, changing my Sunday afternoons and expanding the time I spent in the mornings. And I did this devotional time. I did this because I became persuaded that who I am is more important than what I do. And also, as a pastor, that I could not lead people places where I had not gone. Now, it's a problem for all of us. And I don't want to hold myself up as the exemplar of any of this stuff, but I certainly had to be working on this more diligently than I am. So I confess, this is still a struggle, but I now spend more time devotionally, and I wrote about this in the book, How Do You Know? I tried to explain how I spend my devotional time, my morning time, and I really do believe that we have got to, the Sabbath is about faith, it's about trusting in God, and it is a gift. It is an opportunity to move in places and move in directions that many people do not move. And life is just going so fast, and it's going faster and faster. And I think that the part of the way forward, part of our witness, part of our testimony may be lives that work better because we actually are following this ancient gift and this cadence that God has established for us to follow. So, take another look at the fourth commandment. Have a good day.